You may have seen a Street View car at some point, with a 360-degree camera on top. Some versions are equipped with LiDAR sensors, which measure the distance from the camera to objects around it. They're also equipped with GPS to get an accurate location for exactly where the camera is positioned. But to reach more remote places, they've adapted cameras to fit the terrain. Google has put cameras on backpacks to get to places that cars can't go. They've also used transportation like bikes and snowmobiles. In some rarer cases, Google has gotten images from camels, divers, and even astronauts. Their newest camera can be detached from cars to be carried around.
We graduate to our most recent, which is a 15-pound, very lightweight, and that can be powered off of a phone versus a large computing unit that's in the car.
This imagery isn't just for looking at. It actually helps keep their maps up to date by detecting changes since the last time images were taken.
We are not just capturing what a place looks like, but we can detect that a business might have changed. We can detect new signs. There's now a stop sign here or a traffic light here. So understanding new physical attributes of the real world is what we've been able to derive.
Once they have all the information they need to figure out what the map looks like, Google layers on info about traffic, routes, and businesses. To do this, they get data from local municipalities, public bus and train schedules, and businesses themselves. This is footage from 2013 of the software Google still uses to edit maps.
The adjectives used to describe the track in articles and blogs. These filtering techniques are not unique to Spotify, but industry experts say what sets the platform apart is the amount of user data it has and the products it creates from it. Spotify says its content-based filtering technology has evolved over the years and now includes more advanced proprietary-facing features. But Hodgson says the danger with algorithms is that they could reinforce existing biases.
This could mean that a particular catalogue of music has more male artists than female artists. One of the dangers with machine learning is that as listeners start to engage with that catalogue, those biases become magnified, and that this creates what's called a kind of feedback loop.
Spotify says its research teams evaluate and mitigate against potential algorithmic inequities and harms, and strive for transparency about its impact. Another criticism is that the algorithm isn't optimized for new artists because there's no user data. This is known as the cold start problem. Sultan says this is where human editors play a significant role in delivering recommendations.
They're possibly some of the best people in the world at trying to understand new releases and culture and what's relevant.
But Hodgson says the bigger concern is that certain metrics used in the platform's audio analysis might be culturally biased.
In other parts of the world, they have musical systems and musical cultures that are entirely different.
Like this North Indian classical track, for example. Spotify's algorithm labels its key signature as E minor, which Hodgson says is inappropriate for this musical tradition.
However, it's still the case that the music that is emerging from South Asia is being understood algorithmically under, the Western equal temperament scale.
Spotify says the audio analysis is one small part of the overall.
So it's really like the wristbands are quite stupid in a sense, but we like it that way, and all the kind of smarts of the technology is really in the transmitters.
Audience concert lighting really started in Korea with K-pop bands back in the 90s. And they get quite creative now, too. And those light sticks aren't handed out as part of the event. They're mementos that fans will sometimes spend more than $100 on. They work a bit differently. You download an app, put in your seating information, and connect the light via Bluetooth. It's how they can be very detailed in their arena-sized designs. Fans call it an ocean. But whether it's Bluetooth, RF, or infrared, the experience of these wearable pieces of technology are only getting more detailed to make every fan feel like part of the show.
With 500 million monthly users, Spotify is the world's largest music streaming service.
Spotify is the home of audio.
It's known for its personalized playlists, made with its recommendation algorithm.
Think about users as this raw material. And then on top of the data layer, we're able to build shared models.
But relying so much on artificial intelligence has also drawn criticism from some industry experts worried about algorithmic bias. Here's how Spotify uses AI to personalize users' experiences on the platform. This is the tech behind Spotify. In the early 2000s, many people found music
While the
recommendations.
fundamental algorithm has stayed the same, engineers have made some modifications to improve its recognition rate.
It was good enough that it felt like it worked most of the time, and it really delighted people that it would work in these like bars and clubs and so on. We also had to then add additional tweaks to deal with the fact that music in the real world also gets adjusted in terms of speed, tempo, and pitch. So there are, for example, DJs might adjust the speed of music when they're playing vinyl records.
Shazam wasn't an immediate hit. It had to sell some of its patents to fund development, though it later bought them back. And it wasn't profitable, it says, until 2016. Barton was CEO for 4 years before stepping down, though he continued to serve on the company's board.
When I left Shazam, it was running through a long period of barely surviving. Shazam was a story of nearly failing, nearly going bankrupt, incredible resilience over many years. It didn't really hit a hockey stick of incredible user adoption until the App Store launched in 2008.
Eventually, Apple bought Shazam in 2018. It's now one of the most popular free music apps in the App Store.
Once you're paying for unlimited streaming of music, what is it you're actually going to listen to? Because you have access to everything as much as you want. And Shazam solves one form of discovery. You're not only discovering music when your friend tells you about a great band, but you're actually discovering it in your daily life.
The technology behind Shazam has grown significantly since Apple's acquisition in 2018. When it bought Shazam, it also gave the company access to Apple Music's large library. Today, Shazam can identify most of the Apple Music catalog of over 100 million songs.
We created an app many years before apps actually existed. Part of the art of a startup is the timing aspect, and so fortunately we found a way to survive through those tough years.
Big sky, because everything is sharp, and if there's any mistakes, they're just there.
This shot of a climber on the Alps, for example, took some trial and error.
You're looking over Dwayne the climber and you're seeing this kind of valley below, and without seeing like the depth of the mountains behind, you kind of lost the environment. It didn't feel as risky.
Andrew Schulkind is the director of photography for Sphere and worked with Aronofsky on Postcard.
It felt riskier and more special that he was on this kind of spire in front of this snowy landscape.
That footage eventually made its way to the screen in the Sphere.
I remember we were in the edit when I saw that and got super excited, but we couldn't tell what it was because it was just in 4K. And then we had to go through the process of up-resing it to be able to see it in Big Dome.
Sphere is still perfecting some elements of the camera, like improving its ability to shoot very tiny objects and making it easier to use. But the next big step is getting it onto the International Space Station.
The screen is so big that the ISS can actually fit inside the screen, and so we can convey to people an experience of doing a spacewalk that actually is realistic.
One of the things that we're very interested in as Sphere is to use the venue and the technology for science. And so that's the type of things that we're sort of curious about and will potentially explore in the future.
More than 23,000 songs are Shazammed every minute in the world. But how does it identify the music around you after recording just seconds of audio from your phone? Shazam has to create a unique audio fingerprint of what you're hearing, and then search its database for a matching fingerprint. That means simplifying sound to a bunch of data that can be processed incredibly fast. This is the tech behind Shazam. The idea behind Shazam is simple. Take the audio captured on your phone and combine them,
and you have silence. That's the basic idea behind noise-canceling headphones. But it takes a lot of technology to make that seemingly simple science possible.
We have 15 millionths of a second to measure the noise, run it through a little DSP processor, compute that inverse signal, and pop it out through the driver.
Here's how they work.
One way to visualize acoustic waves that I like to use is a slinky.
John Rule has spent the last decade developing new algorithms for personalizing noise cancellation performance in Bose headphones.
We draw them as sine waves, as if something's going back and forth or up and down. But what's really happening is that these vibrations are actually propagating through the air. The medium has stayed fixed, but you can see that pulse of energy sort of running through the length of it.
Because sound is just waves, you can cancel a sound wave by introducing an equal and opposite wave.
So what you've got is, you've got an incoming sound wave, and the way destructive interference works is we say, hey, if I could generate an equal and opposite signal, right? I could generate the signal.
Behind the technology that consumers know and experience lies one simple question. How does it work? From sophisticated software that gets us from point A to point B, to algorithms that suggest a specific song along the way, we explore the engineering and science of technology that catches our eye and speak to key players that make it all happen. Let's start here with how Google remapped the world.
If you need to get somewhere, let's say a new building, put it into Maps and Google gives you a route in seconds. But behind that seemingly simple answer is a complex system of data collected from users, satellites, cars, even camels. Today, more than 1 billion people use Google Maps every month. And in 17 years, it's evolved from a desktop application to a massive mobile platform that continuously updates information about a location.
We have over
Machine learning
150
and map operators edit the public data, like road networks, to match exactly what you see on the layered imagery. Since 2013, Google says they've been able to automate most of this process. So, for Chris's route from San Francisco's Ferry Building to the airport,
right now, I can see that it's going to take 21 minutes.
In order to predict how long it takes to get somewhere or how busy a place is, Google relies on reviews, contributed information, and anonymized location data, and uses algorithms to comb through historical traffic patterns. It looks at current trends based on your anonymous location, aggregated with millions of other users.
So we can overlay the trend with the current activity to then create a prediction.
The company also uses your approximate location and its mapping tools to target ads and advertise businesses, which is one of the ways the platform makes money.
We have the ability for businesses to actually promote themselves on the map. So whether you're searching for a place to go, and if it's relevant to the people who are in that area, we can show that as one of the results.
So far, Google has mapped more than 250 countries and territories. But as it's added more data and ingrained itself, and regulators have pushed back and demanded guardrails.
Privacy is a big issue with any kind of geographic technology, and Google Maps is only so much more so. Because Google Maps is down to an individual street address, down to individual people when we connect it to things like your Gmail account or your wallet or your Wi-Fi network.
Google has been criticized and in some cases taken to court for things like the amount of data it collects, Street View images showing private property, and grabbing data from unsecured Wi-Fi networks with Street View cars. Google says the data from you that it uses to inform traffic and busyness is anonymized.
We use a technology treatment called differential privacy. Differential privacy allows us to separate you and your activity from what we aggregate from millions of people as signals to derive insights around like busyness and how long the walk or the drive may take.
But some data that is used to tailor your personal map, like noting that you've been to a location before, isn't. They say that that data is not sold or shared with third parties. Google also says that it gives users privacy controls like toggling location history on or off, searching in incognito mode, and auto-deleting location data.
We're always improving how we manage the information we capture to protect people's privacy and make sure that we only have the critical amount of data to help power the most useful products.
With its advances in technology, its advertising priorities, and even its criticism, Google Maps has helped change the way we navigate the world.
The biggest improvement that Google Maps has made is making geographic information much more accessible to a very large number of people. The biggest downside, there's something paying much closer attention to the intricacies
that makes card readers. And he cracked one open